Welcome to Leadership and Learning, the podcast where we help leaders design learning strategies that fuel growth. I'm Jeremy Robb, a fractional Chief Learning Officer, or CLO on demand, helping startups and scaling companies align people, performance, and purpose. So today we're going to talk about why AI still fails after the decision is owned. So you may be trying to apply AI and you feel it's very fragile and you're wondering what you can do, even though you've got somebody that kind of owns your AI integration, owns your AI implementation. They know what they're doing, you know what you're doing, but it still feels really fragile. You're not sure how it's going to work. So what we're going to talk about is why that is the case, what you can do as a leader to fix that problem and change your mindset so that your AI platform, whatever AI platform you're using, and I'm going to be specifically talking about AI platforms for learning and development, but this applies to every AI platform, how you can strengthen your utilization of AI and then feel comfortable with that decision. Okay, so the bulk of this information and this concept is really going to be coming from a post that Richie Adamihin, and I'm sorry, Richie, if I mispronounced your name. He's a ServiceNow AI advisory and transformation consultant. And he posted the question why AI still fails after the decision is owned. So I've talked about how important it is to have have oversight over AI. And in previous arguments and in previous posts, I've talked about the importance of having someone own the AI process, right? The decisions that are made, overview, because you can't have AI be responsible for whatever decisions are made. It's just a tool, right? So that tool is then going to apply, is going to be utilized, and then the results of that utilization needs to be reviewed and needs to be signed off on. That's what that's what human intervention is going to do, and that's what's going to strengthen your use of AI. So why do I say this? Well, I had talked about this in an anecdotal sense. I read somewhere on LinkedIn, so it's a LinkedIn post. I don't know how real it is. I'll just leave it at that. But the concept is still the same, right? So if you uh, decide that you want to get rid of your learning and development team, just get rid of them all, and you're going to just give everyone access to ChatGPT, and then just say that's your training, right? Any questions, just ask them. They'll know what they're doing, right? The anecdotal evidence from that is that it immediately fails, and it fails spectacularly because AI will spit out information that may or may not be accurate. And we've seen this in some very hard evidences. The two instances of Deloitte providing recommendations to the Australian government and the British government that was 100% AI generated and referencing written documentation and books that didn't really exist. It created them, just made them up. And it's a lot like, you're going through your doctoral program, and if you can't find anyone that agrees with your position, you create a reference that's an anagram of your name just so that you have evidence, right? That becomes problematic. And that's what AI has been doing. And it's because nobody did the research. They listen to AI, which publishes things and gives you answers that are very authoritative. It sounds good, it sounds real, but it's not real. It's just been generated. It's been generated off of lots of data points. According to some references I had mentioned in a past podcast, that Neil deGrasse Tyson has said that in the stuff that he's asked questions for which he knew the answer, AI was 85% accurate. Still pretty good, but not 100% accurate. You need to have someone review. Someone needs to own that and be responsible for what's generated. Okay, that's step number one. Now, so you can have ownership, and that's great. What it doesn't cover is you've got someone that owns your AI vision. How does it work in the workflow? So Richie here has us ask um, some key questions. Okay, and those questions are: under what conditions is this recommendation acceptable? Right. So you're doing AI and you're trying to utilize that. When you ask a question, when you build a course, under what condition is that going to be acceptable? If you're building a course for an internal audience, let's say you are building um, enablement courses on the fly for new roles and new responsibilities, and you need them to be well trained within your organization with the information that's available within your organization, but you need to deploy it to very custom experiences. That's where, you know what, if it's a little off, a quick look may be okay. You know, you don't. It's an internal audience. It's not like you're not going to be legally sued or anything like that. And those folks that have that understand that that's going to be an internal reference that's going to give them some generic information, and then they're going to work with their mentors and their other teams, you know, covering the 70-20-10 rule, right? That's the 10% that they're getting that's customized training. The rest of it's going to be coming from, you know, learning on the job 70%, and then 20% working with their peers and learning in a collaborative sense. Okay, that may be acceptable. Customer facing training or partner facing training, that may not be something you want to do. Maybe then you need to take it as a scaffold and then have a learning and development person go through and really flesh it out and make sure everything is 100% accurate and check the references. So that's one question. Okay. The other question is, when must a human intervene? Again, same thing is, how off is this course in your workflow? How off is AI in your workflow? When does a human need to look at it and say, you know what, I'm not sure that's accurate. I need to make sure that this is done before it goes to the boss, or goes to the boss's boss, or goes to our customers, or goes to marketing. You know, before it hands off to something, I need to have something polished. That's when maybe a human needs to intervene in what's being created and how AI is being utilized. So, what level of confidence is required before action? Okay, how much confidence do you need to have in the generative AI result before you take action? You know, you need to step in and redo some things. Um, in a course, this would be, maybe the text is questionable, but you know the images are fine. So that's okay. Maybe you're generating stuff. You've been generating for maybe you've been generating stuff and you've been generating it for a while, and you know the AI is giving you consistently really good information, and therefore you don't have to monitor it as much. You can step back a little bit and then just do some cursory overview. Um, that level of confidence is going to be based off of experience in the platform, the queries that are being built, the questions that are being asked, and how often you get very accurate answers, and can only really be answered by someone who can review that for accuracy. So that's a very key question. Another one is, what happens when the context is missing or outdated? Okay, this was the problem with that anecdotal story I was telling you about, where the company had built this platform all on Chat GPT and said everyone's going to just go there and they're going to learn from there. Well, all the sales information was outdated. They didn't. It wasn't referencing the latest and greatest sales information. It was always referencing older stuff. The support information was all older for previous versions. And that's where customer experience was just tanking because they couldn't get right information. The sales team was really frustrated because they couldn't get right information. And then the support team obviously was struggling as well. So what happens when that context is missing or outdated? What do you do? That goes back to how much confidence do you have in the result? Um, you've got to make sure every time something gets updated and it gets added to your data set, that data set's still going to have all your older information. So you can either refresh with a whole new data set, or you need to keep generating questions until the new data set gets populated and becomes the most popular and the most accurate of information. That's where having an AI auditor is going to be very valuable in working through your platform. Okay. And then the last one is who's going to be accountable when the output is technically correct, but operationally wrong. So, what does that mean? That means that the information that AI may be giving you may all be technically correct. It may all look good. It may all be very well structured, but it may not be operationally correct. Um, in training, this would be it may give you information on how to use the platform that you're training on, but it doesn't help you get to the desired outcome that you need. AI doesn't know the difference between desired outcome and the information it's giving. It's just generating stuff based off of the queries that you're giving it. So you've got to be able to recognize that all of these can be easily taken care of by having individuals take ownership. The example that Richie gives is ServiceNow gives you lots of check-ins for when approvals and stuff like that for when something's generated by AI, so that humans can get in front of it and make that happen and make sure everything is accurate and what it needs to be. If you are building a process where you are going to be generating your course information online through um, maybe one of the AI course generation tools that I had referenced earlier on LinkedIn. So utilizing those within an operational process, you need to have someone step in and check at each stage: is the outline correct? Is the content being generated correctly? Are the images appropriate? Depending on the AI platform that you're using. You want to make sure those images are appropriate. Are the videos that are being generated accurate and not creepy at all? Is there anything that you need to correct? Does the outcome of the course equal the desired outcome that you need for your target audience, right? Are they going to be able to take this course and accomplish what they need in order to be successful? That's something that AI doesn't have the ability of checking. AI is very good about presenting common processes and common results, and narrowing down to what is normal. It is not very good about ignoring the noise and making decisions in scenarios where ambiguity may be very heavily uh, very heavily present. That is something that a human brain is really designed to do. That's what we've been doing for really since the human brain's been the human brain. Um, we deal with small amounts of data, ignoring some data, looking at the stuff that's important, hopefully, right? And then making decisions based off of that. AI is not very good at that. So it's one of the reasons why when Harvard did their business management uh, test for AI and humans, AI was able to run the company better, but was more likely to be fired by the board because it couldn't handle non-standard problems, where humans, that's our strength, that's what we do, even if we're not consistent like AI may be consistent. So your job when you're utilizing AI is to keep AI honest. Okay, so having talked about this, we talked about some of the problems that exist with utilizing AI, why it may not feel safe, and then what you can do as an owner, as a leader, to make sure that your implementation of AI is going to be operationally successful and not just, kind of running and then hopefully it's going to be good. So, if you have more questions about this, if you want to learn more and have a discussion, feel free to contact me. Go to www.robclan.com, book a 30-minute free strategy session, and let's chat. Let's talk about how we can help you utilize AI in your learning and development process effectively. Okay. Well, thank you for listening to Leadership and Learning. I'm Jeremy Robb. See you next week for more insights on learning leadership for growth.